Space is the final frontier, but it's no longer a place no man has ever gone. And now the Elon Musk-owned spacecraft manufacturer, space launch provider, and satellite communications corporation SpaceX has launched its first U.S. national security mission. The company has had a busy year. This was their 50th launch so far. Let's look at all that we know about the mission so far. First, the SpaceX Falcon Heavy is taking a U.S. Space Force mission to geostationary Earth orbit. The SpaceX rocket called the Falcon Heavy lifted off on 1st November at exactly 9:41 a.m. Eastern Time. It took place at the Kennedy Space Center on Merritt Island in Florida. The space vehicle was carrying the U.S. Space Force USS F-44 mission to geostationary Earth orbit. A geostationary orbit refers to circling our planet above the equator from west to east, following Earth's rotation by traveling at the same rate as Earth. This makes the satellites appear as if they are stationary at a fixed position. To perfectly match Earth's rotation, the speed of GEO satellites should be about 3 kilometers per second at an altitude of close to 36,000 kilometers. This is much farther away from the Earth's surface than many satellites. This particular vehicle will be the first time it's taking on a national security space launch mission, and only its fourth flight since 2018. The Falcon Heavy is making a return after some 4 years. It's made up of 3 Falcon 9 rockets strapped together. The vehicle has a staggering 27 engines powering the first stage and just 1 engine in the second stage. This particular national security mission was originally meant to launch in 2020, but faced multiple delays. The USS F-44 is a direct-to-geostationary orbit launch carrying 2 Space Force satellites and other small rideshare payloads. Let's look at the details of the launch. As we said earlier, the SpaceX Falcon Heavy started its trip on Tuesday morning, and here's how it all went down, or up rather. Both side boosters separated about 2.5 minutes into the liftoff, and the second stage separated itself from the core stage after 4 minutes after liftoff. After the second stage separation, the SpaceX company ended the live webcast, and at the request of the U.S. government, they didn't show views of the second stage or the payloads. Both side boosters landed back on firm ground at SpaceX's landing zones 1 and 2 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. This was about 8.5 minutes after liftoff. These boosters will be refurbished and used again for future national security space missions. This marks the company's 150th and 151st successful recovery. The expendable center core was dropped into the Atlantic Ocean. It was not recovered. That's because the mission's performance requirements didn't allow enough fuel to return the stage to Earth. And finally, the Space Systems Command confirmed that the mission was successful in a press release on Tuesday evening. Up next, the USS F-44 marked a big milestone for SpaceX. Now, carrying the American Space Force's USS F-44 marked a big milestone for SpaceX. This was its first direct-to-GEO operational mission and went exceptionally well. The mission required the Falcon Heavy upper stage to perform a long-duration coast and even involved an engine restart. Usually, SpaceX has deployed satellites to a geostationary transfer orbit, and then the spacecraft uses its propulsion to reach its final orbit, another 22,000 miles above Earth. USS F-44 carries the Tetra-1 satellite and the LDPE ESPA class ring with 6 small satellites attached to it. Millennium Space Systems has built the Tetra-1. The Space Force plans to use it as a test platform for rendezvous and proximity operations. The LDPE-2 is the long-duration propulsive EELV secondary payload adapter. It's a satellite bus made by Northrop Grumman, and if you don't know what that is, it's the main structure of the satellite and carries the cargo. In this case, it hosted 6 payloads to demonstrate communications, space weather sensing, and other tech. This is the second of 3 missions for the LDPE program, which the U.S. Space Force views as an important capability to quickly get payloads to geostationary orbit. LDPE-1 was launched aboard the Space Test Program mission on 7th December last year, and the LDPE-3A is set to launch with the USS F-67 mission in 2023 next year. This will also be carried on a Falcon Heavy. Not to mention, it's a highly classified mission for the U.S. government. While the SpaceX rocket has made some big news as the most powerful rocket to date, its job remains highly secretive. The agency even ensured that not the entire mission was available to view via webcast, and we generally know very little about the main cargo, that is, the USS F-44. But we know that the Space Force has already engaged the Falcon Heavy for future launches, so we know they mean business. You know what they say, the truth is out there. Coming up, the Falcon Heavy is the most powerful rocket in the world, and it sounds like something out of a fantastical sci-fi flick. It is by far the most powerful rocket in use today. It is absolutely colossal, and the last time it launched was June 2019. It's got some serious juice. It can transport satellites into orbits that no other operational rockets can reach, and although this baby was on a long hiatus, its November 1st launch went off without a hitch. All smooth sailing, and the mission was a certified success. Let's explain why Falcon Heavy is the most powerful operational rocket in the world. It can lift into orbit 64 metric tons. That's 141,000 pounds. The monster machine can lift more than twice the payload of its closest competing operational vehicle, the Delta II-T, comprising the sail of 3 Falcon 9 9-engine cores whose 27 Merlin engines generate more than 5 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. And if that doesn't make sense, think of it this way. That's equal to approximately 18 747 aircraft. When satellites are placed in geostationary orbit, the rocket drops them off lower down, and then the satellites use the boosters on board to push themselves up to their final destinations. But the Falcon Heavy is so powerful that it will bring them to their final orbits within 6 hours of the launch. Let's look at the sonic boom the super rocket created. Make that a double sonic boom. Yes, that's a thing. There was a lot to take in as the Falcon Heavy roared off the pad, and its first 3-stage boosters returned to Earth shortly after liftoff. The action had both oral and visual elements. The official Twitter account of the Patrick Space Force Base and Cape Canaveral Space Force Station warned residents before the launch of a double sonic boom that would occur shortly after the launch. This would happen as the booster landed on landing zones 1 and 2. A sonic boom occurs when an aircraft or aerospace vehicle flies through the air faster than the speed of sound. This causes a thunderous boom. NASA explained that the air reacts like a fluid to supersonic objects. The vehicles push the molecules aside with great force, forming a shock wave. That's the boom. So then what's a double sonic boom? Technically speaking, all sonic booms are of the double kind. It's just that they occur so close to each other in terms of timing that to our ears, it seems like one sound. The first boom takes place when the initial pressure rises, and then another boom takes place when the pressure returns to normal. That makes it 2 booms, but to the ordinary ear, that's just one sound. Still, a pretty neat neighborhood warning to get. Lastly, what's next for the SpaceX Falcon Heavy? Given just how powerful and how well it's done in all its missions, the Falcon Heavy is all booked out in the coming years. It's going to take plenty of space missions to their destinations, and its most dedicated client is the US Space Force. The Mega Machine's next job is in January 2023, when it will undertake yet another classified mission for the government, the USSF-67. The launch will take place at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida and carry the LDPE-3A. Following that will be another payload for the USSF kind. The 52 will make its way into orbit in April 2023 on board the Heavy. After missing it this year, NASA will also continue its Psyche asteroid mission in October 2023. This mission will be a unique journey to a metal-rich asteroid orbiting the Sun between Mars and Jupiter. Now that sounds exciting. But before all that, be ready for another double sonic boom on 27th December. The SpaceX Falcon Heavy sounds like an absolute monster of a machine, the kind of thing that was, up until recently, the stuff of science fiction and fantasy. That's a wrap for this video. Did you watch the live stream of the Falcon Heavy launch? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.